You know, with this basically being a Martin Scorsese movie, I thought I'd wear my Martin Scorsese shirt. It's got Mark Ruffalo right there. He's worked with him, so that's why I wore it. Killers of the Flower Moon is directed by Martin Scorsese and stars Leonardo DiCaprio, Lily Gladstone, Robert De Niro, Jesse Plemons, Tanto Cardinal, John Lithgow, and Brendan Fraser, and tells the story on when oil is discovered in 1920s Oklahoma under Osage Nation land. The Osage people are murdered one by one until the FBI steps in to unravel the mystery. Hello, you weird, beautiful movie lovers. My name is Louis, aka Fandom, and today we're talking about Killers of the Flower Moon, which is the most recent movie from Martin Scorsese, based on the 2017 or 2016, I think so, book about the Osage murders that took place in 1920s. This is written and directed by both Martin Scorsese and Eric Roth, and I was able to see it finally last night. This has been one of my most anticipated movies, especially with the press around the good buzz around it since it premiered at the Cannes Film Festival, and I was really excited for this movie for two reasons. First off, I'm not the most familiar with Martin Scorsese. He has directed some movies that I love, like The Departed and Goodfellas. And also, he is renowned as one of the most, best, as in one of the best filmmakers of all time. And honestly, even with me basically seeing like 6 or 7 of his movies, including this one, I can say he is an amazing director. And also the cast for this is stacked, so yeah. And I was able to see it finally last night in IMAX, and it is also pretty fun seeing it since, well, it is the first movie I have ever seen in a theater that is directed by Martin Scorsese, which is actually kind of cool, honestly. So, now that I have seen this 3.5-hour slow burn crime mystery movie that basically the detective steps in around 2 hours off the runtime that we already know the answer to. What did I think of it? This movie's freaking awesome, without a doubt. I love this movie, genuinely. First off, obviously, I'm gonna start off with the obvious here. The cast is incredible here, obviously. Leonardo DiCaprio, Lily Gladstone, and Robert De Niro are the 3 that steal the show by far. Starting off with Robert De Niro's character, who is basically the perfect embodiment of evil. I mean, genuinely. He is genuinely terrible, and he does an amazing job in this movie. His performance is so amazing that you just hate this guy so much. And genuinely, he was basically a monster. I loved his performance with how he acted so smoothly and calmly and kind of nice, but, you know, he is rich and you can probably tell he's selfish, but honestly, he may sound like a nice guy. But he is pure evil, without a doubt, and I loved his performance in this movie. Leonardo DiCaprio is possibly the most interesting character in this entire movie, or person, if you will, because basically, he is basically greedy. He will do anything for money, whether it's killing anyone for it, and I loved his character because with how evil he is, and with him being incredibly weak and cowardly, you kind of root for him, and he is kind of a good guy, even though, well, he is awful, and you hate him so much. But one of the things that I would say, like, a fire does, is that a character so terrible, who you hate so much, you can kind of root for him, honestly. Well, not root for him, but like him, even though a fire is different, and that's the only movie I could kind of compare it to, honestly. I mean, genuinely, and his performance is amazing. But Lily Gladstone here steals the show. Leonardo DiCaprio's character, Ernest, has been, set up by his uncle, by Robert De Niro to marry, her, and, honestly, she is amazing. Molly as a character herself is genuinely really interesting, to say the least, honestly. And Lily Gladstone's performance is amazing. While I was expecting a little more, I just loved her performance. I also loved how basically early in the movie they say that the Osage are quiet people. And I love that basically for the entire movie she is actually pretty quiet, which I genuinely didn't realize until I was talking to this with my family about this. So, yeah, honestly, and she does an amazing job. And I am definitely sure she is going to get nominated for Best Supporting Actress, and is probably going to win it, honestly, and I am all there, because she deserves it, I mean, genuinely. Jesse Plemons' character, who plays the detective in this movie, that basically comes in around 2 hours off the movie, he was in it more than I expected, compared to what the trailers were saying, and even with him basically being more of a short time in it, even with him being in longer than I expected, he does do an amazing job in this movie, and I do really like his character. Every other performance in this movie are really great. Brendan Fraser also, for the little time he has, is great, and also the other members of Molly's family are also really great, and overall everyone is also. The script is by Martin Scorsese himself and Eric Roth, as I said, and they both do a really great job at writing this story, honestly. I mean, genuinely. Like I said, you can kind of care for characters you absolutely despise, but there is just so much heart in this movie. You can feel every single blood, sweat, and tears that were poured into this movie. I mean, genuinely. And it's, with it starting off as a book, you can tell how faithful they are with it. Even as someone who hasn't read the book, can tell that this has been a personal movie for Scorsese, and both writers do an amazing job with it. Also, the cinematography in this movie is just gorgeous. I mean, genuinely. The cinematography is by Rodrigo Prieto, who has worked on, I don't know, stuff like Barbie, Brokeback Mountain, 8 Mile, Argo, and a bunch of other movies, by Martin Scorsese, like The Irishman and Wolf of Wall Street, and also Silence, and he does an amazing job at it. There is just a scene in this movie that, has been marketed in it, where basically you can see where, it's fire and people with pickaxes and stuff like that, and I loved how beautiful that scene looked. I mean, genuinely, it looked absolutely gorgeous, so beautiful. And also many other scenes themselves are also great, and also there you can see sweat on characters' faces, where you can tell how they're feeling, and you can see the sweat on their face, and I loved how detailed it is. The camera work is also amazing, and it is genuinely amazing. I mean, genuinely. I really hope this gets a cinematography nomination, and it really does deserve it. Also, the editing in here is amazing. Editing is by Thomas Schoonmaker, hope I'm pronouncing that right, who has also worked with Martin Scorsese for a long time, and editing, is also very amazing. I mean, genuinely. There are just scenes in this movie that are just so smoothly made, and I just love the way, they also looked, but also with them just being so smoothly. Like, it has just kind of like, it has a feel to it, and mainly that goes with the cinematography and editing. Both do an amazing job. I really hope both of them get nominations, honestly. So yeah, both of them are amazing. I mean, genuinely, especially with, like, the final shot, with the final shot of the entire movie, which, may I just say, maybe one of my favorite final shots of the entire year, maybe my favorite, honestly, and the way it is just edited itself, with it basically just zooming out above, with the camera work, also, it just felt interesting, honestly. I don't know if interesting is the right word, but it just felt something with it, and I just loved it. Also, the score for this movie is genuinely amazing. The score for this movie, is by, is by Robbie Robertson, who has sadly passed away earlier this year in August, which, rest in peace, who has been working with Martin Scorsese for 3 movies and now 4 movies. He started off with The King of Comedy, and then Color of Money, and then The Irishman, and now this, and his score is genuinely amazing. I mean, genuinely. I instantly added the score to my playlist, honestly, and I just loved the score to this movie a lot. It was genuinely just beautiful. It also helped a lot with a lot of it that just helped add the movie with feels, and that is what a score is supposed to do, and it absolutely works. Whether it's something that's horrifying, beautiful, or just something else, even off comedy, if you will, or threatening, stuff like that. And I just love the score. Rest in peace, Robbie Robertson. I do hope he does get a nomination, even though it probably won't, which sucks. Yeah. Oh, also the sound design in this movie is amazing. I beg you so much to watch this movie in IMAX. I mean, genuinely. It just helps the movie a lot more with it. I mean, genuinely. It just... The sound itself is amazing, and also seeing it in IMAX, like I said, is amazing, and please... It is genuinely amazing. And also, may I just say, the pacing of this movie is just amazing. For a movie that is 3.5 hours long, it morally feels like 2.5 hours, which is basically an hour off, honestly. And I just loved that, honestly, and it genuinely kind of helps the movie a little bit. While I did feel the runtime, I felt it more as a 2.5 hour movie. I was kind of expecting, to think the movie was almost over by how tired I was getting, and I wasn't really getting that tired, honestly. And I'm honestly saying that in a good way, that I didn't know when it was gonna end, honestly, and I kind of like that about the movie, honestly. I just genuinely loved that. Also, the makeup in here is amazing, like I said, with the sweat, even though that doesn't really have a thing to do with it, it still just looks amazing, and genuinely, the makeup in it is amazing. You can tell on their faces. It really adds a lot with the acting also, and also the costume design in here is also gorgeous. I mean, genuinely, I loved all of it, especially with the Osage people. It really adds a lot more detail, and I just loved. I really did love that about the movie. I mean, genuinely, it is just amazing, honestly. And really, I don't really have an issue. I was thinking I maybe had some nitpicks with it, but honestly, the more I think about it, I actually think that this movie is a masterpiece. Even with this movie basically being over 200 minutes long, and by far the longest movie I've seen in a theater thus far, it really needed to be that. Martin Scorsese defended the runtime by saying you can watch TV shows that are basically 5 hours long. And honestly, I am glad this movie wasn't just like 100 minutes. I'm really glad about that. Cause cause honestly with that, I probably wouldn't have liked this movie. Maybe I would have thought it was alright, but still. It really needed to be this runtime, honestly. This is actually a movie I would call perfect. I mean, genuinely. Everything that happens in this movie is just amazing. I mean, genuinely. Acting, score, sound, everything. Just everything. Perfect. Freaking perfect. I mean, genuinely. This shit is so good. I loved it. I mean, genuinely. It is disturbing, brilliantly made, well-crafted, everything, just genuinely. I cannot go on enough with how much I love this movie. Well, it may not be my favorite movie of the year, this movie is just so good. I'm not gonna, I may not try, I don't want to say it just continuously to sound repetitive, but I mean, genuinely, it is just perfect. I implore you, I beg you, even, to go watch this movie. Cancel whatever 3.5 hour for the next 3.5 hours. Trust me, and watch this movie in IMAX. Trust me, it is worth it. On the biggest screen you can, this is the only way to watch the movie, honestly. I'm glad it just went to Apple Plus, and honestly, after this, I am really excited to see what Apple are also going to do with theatrical releases, which next is Napoleon next month, which I am also really excited to see. And if it is as good as this, especially on a big screen, I'm very excited for it. Not saying that I wasn't excited for it before, but yeah, honestly, Apple as a streaming service does kind of suck. But now I think they can redeem themselves. I mean, with this, Napoleon, and soon Argyle, and many more to come in the future, they are kind of maybe doing the best job with releasing stuff. And who knows, maybe their streaming service could get better. Even with how shitty Apple is as a company, they maybe could redeem themselves with their streaming service. And right now, with what they're doing with releases, they are genuinely doing a really great job. I mean, genuinely, and I'm honestly really glad. Take note, other streaming services. Listen to Apple, who don't do a good streaming service, but genuinely, they are doing a good job with theatrical releases, and maybe sometime in the future, their streaming service could be good, and who knows, maybe Apple will redeem themselves as a company. Probably not, but I mean, genuinely. And I can't wait to see what Apple will be doing next for movies, seeing what theatrical releases they'll do. In fact, honestly, with TV shows, while I haven't really watched a single Apple TV show, honestly, the stuff they're doing now, honestly, is also going to help probably redeem themselves. I mean, hey, they're doing the new Godzilla series, and I'm honestly really excited for that. So who knows, they could redeem themselves with a lot of stuff. And I am really excited to see what can happen. In fact, they could maybe change the streaming service industry. Overall, I'm sorry that just went a little long, but honestly, that just kind of felt nice, honestly. Overall, Killers of the Flower Moon is genuinely perfect. I beg you to see this. And overall, obviously, I gotta give this movie an A+. I mean, it is well deserved, and I cannot wait to see what Martin Scorsese does next. So, those were my thoughts on Killers of the Flower Moon. What did you think about this movie? Did you love it, hate it? Let's agree, disagree down below. Comments, come and tell me. My next review will be the Prince of Egypt musical, and I will also try and review other movies throughout the week, like the new Five Nights at Freddy's movie, and maybe some other stuff. Also, I may do some shorts, honestly, on my box office predictions, maybe, that may come soon, maybe even tomorrow, I don't know, just see how things go, I guess. But yeah, that's it from me right now. Yeah, stay awesome.